A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 221st episode of the Together for Education webinars brought to you by Notebook. As we proudly completed our 200th episode early this year, remembering our journey, it was back in 2020 when we here at Notebook decided to launch a platform for the educators to connect meaningfully on discussing problems they were facing with the rising need of digital education and online learning and arrive at common solutions. Little did we know that day about this platform growing so big, where principals and educators from across the globe have participated over so many sessions. We thank you all once again for supporting us and would look forward to your gracious presence in all our upcoming episodes. We have discussed extremely relevant topics here, like digital learning, NEP and assessment, extracurricular topics like sports and theatre, topics like school finance and management, and even evolved topics like child psychology. Our today's topic is all about PTMs. Parent-teacher meetings are a very common calendar item for all of us. But how meaningful it can get and how effectively can it be used as a teaching learning mechanism? Let's hear from the experts today. Our first speaker on this topic is Mr. Achin Bhattacharyya, CEO and founder at Notebook. A chartered accountant by training, Achin was a director at Deloitte prior to starting Notebook. He has worked in India and abroad in various senior capacities in GE, PwC, KPMG, and Deloitte. Achin is a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales, a fellow of the ICAI, a member of CPA Australia and CPA Ireland, and a member of CIMA UK. He is also the recipient of the very prestigious Indian Achievers Award. An avid reader and a passionate traveler, Achin has keen interests in economics, history, literature, and philosophy. He is a regular speaker at various forums in chambers of commerce and also contributes articles to numerous publications regularly. He is also on the board of some of the most renowned corporates and contributes significantly to their brand strategies. Achin, a very good evening, and over to you, please.
Good evening, everyone. Kaveri, am I audible?
Absolutely.
I once again welcome all of you to today's session. This is one topic which is perpetually relevant for this forum and, of course, very close to our heart. We all agree that a great working equation between esteemed educators and parents tremendously benefit the child, who, of course, occupies the center stage of learning. Now, when I say great working equation, what are the essential elements? The way I look at it, mutual trust and respect for the complementary nature of each other's role, valuing the hard work, understanding the challenges. We all remember that during the COVID pandemic, when students were studying from home, online learning for months, years, that point of time, I remember many parents, many of my friends, their better halves discussing and acknowledging the fact, the great work that educators are doing day in and day out. The fact that how challenging it is to make children patiently sit and attend their classes, one after the other. And considering the fact that teachers are not only managing one, but an entire classroom, and doing this day in and day out was something that everyone appreciated. So after all, if you look at things from a child's perspective, parents and teachers are the most important lighthouses in a child's tiny universe. So I think when we discuss about PTMs, few things that first comes to my mind. Most important, I feel, is that I see many parents who are very anxious about this interaction. I recently remember a friend of mine. Next day, she had to attend a PTM for her daughter and was extremely anxious. There were certain issues and she was very anxious with regard to the teacher's feedback. So I guess it's very important for parents to understand and appreciate the fact that this is an interaction and not an interrogation. And from either side, it's an interaction. So naturally, there has to be a balance between a very data-driven cold approach and softer issues. So in order to make this successful, it is very important that when parents are walking into the meeting, they are doing so without any anxiety. The other important aspect is being a good listener. And I'm sure this is from both sides, both from the perspective of educators as well as from parents. We won't benefit from each other's experience unless and until we listen with an open mind, unless and until we appreciate the other person's perspective, his or her challenges, his or her thought process. So being a good listener, I think, is the single most important criteria. The other aspect is that very often you see, especially in today's competitive age, with social media penetrating our daily lives day in and day out, with constant peer pressure, comparison, etc. And very often I see parents in groups comparing about their child's development or different activities, how they're faring. So because of peer pressure, it's a very common trend that fake it if you don't make it. Very often. I think in case if there's a challenge of any kind, be it in terms of soft skill, be it in terms of the child's development, it is very important for parents to be honest and to open up to the educator. When we visit a professional, be it a doctor, be it a lawyer, or be it an educator, if we really want him or her to help us, to help the cause, and to ensure that they put their best foot forward, the first step on our part is to be completely honest and transparent. Because we all understand that in order to get the complete picture, this interaction is very important. Teachers are observing the child in a more formal setting in school during school hours. And very often they are in a better position to very clearly, neutrally, and I'll say also without any bias, to spell out expectations at a particular age or stage. And this comes from their long years of experience, which can help parents get guidance. Of course, each child has his or her own unique developmental cycle. And we all understand that, we are sensitive to that. But the fact is that we can get a complete picture only when teachers and parents, they exchange notes, they exchange their thought process. For example, how a particular child is conducting himself or herself at home while doing homework. What is his or her habits? Maybe during vacation, during weekends. And it's very important to be honest, to discuss, to get a feedback, to get guidance. Equally important, very often I see there are conflicting teaching styles. An educator teaching in his or her own way at school, and in many cases, parents who also have all genuine good intentions to help the child, helping at home, trying to teach the same thing, but maybe with a little different style. And at the end, the child suffers. So any kind of interaction, honest interaction, always helps to ensure that all stakeholders are on the same page, because there is genuine intent on the part of both parents and educators, the best interest of the child. That's most important for them. So this visual alignment helps a lot. Again, whenever we discuss about parent-teachers meeting, for the matter, any interaction, it will only be successful if there are some concrete time-bound action points. An educator might not clearly spell it out, but while discussion, if the parent feels that yes, these are certain areas to work on, ensuring that those are indeed taken seriously, and very often follow up to ensure that these are indeed achieved. Again, PTMs, of course, they can be the starting point of a wonderful professional relationship of mutual respect, which benefits the child. But it's only the starting point. It's equally important to keep in touch. It's only the beginning of the relationship. It also helps in the sense that if you look at things from the parents' perspective, peer-to-peer interaction with other parents, everybody under the same roof, and that helps. I remember as a parent, I can vouch for this that I have been tremendously benefited as a parent while attending PTM sessions for my twin boys in their school. And I have seen the way an educator is guiding and varied questions, even including what kind of books to read during vacation, what kind of story books, how it will help. I saw a parent coming up with the concern that it's very difficult for the child the child is finding it difficult to pick up Bengali, maybe initially started with English. The teacher came up with a very unique and wonderful suggestion, very practical suggestion. That what kind of music do you play in your car? Instead of playing English songs, can you play out Ravindra Sangeet? Can you play some very nice Indian music for the boy? That can be a beautiful starting point. At home, what is the language that you converse in? So I think there's no doubt about it that this is a wonderful topic. And to deliver further on this topic, we have a very experienced and senior panel here. Panel of educators with decades of experience. I thank all of you for giving me a very patient hearing, and I look forward to hear from them, their inputs, their practical experience, case studies on this wonderful topic. Over to you, Gauri.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Achin, for those wonderful, wonderful deliberations. Thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, as Achin mentioned, to discuss this topic, we do have a wonderful panel lined up for you today. But before we start with the panel discussion, a little bit about us here at Notebook. We at Notebook are an edtech platform that creates short videos pertaining to the school curriculum. This means that every topic from every subject of the school syllabus has been converted into a series of short videos that can be used in two different cases. One is when you as a teacher are starting out a topic in your classroom. You can play one of these videos as a method of visually introducing the topic to a student. These videos are just 6 to 10 minutes in duration and take up very little of your class time while offering the right kind of material to students to generate curiosity and excitement. The second is when the student is studying at home months later. They have access to the same videos on their personal devices, be it a laptop or a smartphone. They can watch the videos over and over again until they get a very clear understanding of the topic that you had taught them in class. What I am going to do now is play you a mashup of Notebook videos so that you know what they exactly look like.
Look at this picture, kids. Yes, that's Mom. The one with the black beard is Dad. Next to Dad is your brother, and the one with the white beard is your dear Grandpa.
The particles of matter are in constant motion. They possess kinetic energy. As we increase the temperature, the particles start moving faster, as the kinetic energy also increases.
So the natural numbers are the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and so on. Whole numbers are the numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. Integers has the number comprising of all the negative natural numbers and the whole numbers.
The tone of the poet changes from surety to supposition here. He predicts the outcome of that silent moment for the whole world.
The impudence with which the mosquito was evading the author was insulting for him.
मच्छर का बार बार बच जाना लेखक को अपमानजनक लगने लगा.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is a small part of some of our videos as you just now saw. We are today connected with over 3,500 schools and have had millions of students and teachers benefit from our videos. If you head over to our website, www.notebook.school, you would find all such videos at your disposal. If you want notebook in your schools, please do get in touch with our sales team at sales@notebook.school. With that, it is now time to introduce the wonderful panel that we have with us today. We have with us today Mrs. Chhaya Chaturvedi, ma'am, Principal, Bharti, Krishna, Vidya, Vihar, Nagpur, Maharashtra. Ma'am holds a BCom, MA in English and a BA. With over 27 years of teaching experience, she has been department head for more than 12 years and received Best Teaching Faculty in School, received Best Scriptwriter and Director Award in District Level Drama Competition on Environmental Issues. Ma'am, a very, very good evening and welcome to the panel once again. Next, we have with us Mrs. A. Padma, Priya, Principal, San Academy, Velachery, Tamil Nadu. With 23 years of experience in the world of education, 18 years specially dedicated to teaching young hearts the world of biology at international schools, and for the last 5 years as a teacher, educator, administrator, trainer, and a lovely guide to all who are part of the San Academy Velachery branch. She strongly lays emphasis to education that respects and preserves every form of human and life diversity. Ma'am, a very, very good evening and welcome to the panel. We also have with us today Mrs. Hemlata Suri, ma'am. Ma'am is a passionate psychologist and a registered rehab professional with rich experience in both corporate and school education sector. She's an alumnus of University of Delhi and Jamia Millia Islamia. She's a panel CBC counselor and a rehab psychologist for the last 10 years now. She's working with Manadarpan and CBC Helpline. Her endeavor is to create a much-needed awareness about mental health and break the stigma attached to mental illnesses, promote education, especially for young girls, and has been conducting many free sessions and workshops for the same. She's currently pursuing her PhD. Ma'am, a very, very good evening and welcome back to the panel once again. If I can start with Padma Priya, ma'am, first. Ma'am, if you can kindly switch on your camera, please.
Yeah. Yes, my camera is on.
Ma'am, we can't
Yeah.
see you. We can hear you though.
Oh, yeah, 1 minute. Visible? Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Absolutely, ma'am. You're visible
Yeah.
now. Ma'am,
Yeah.
my question, a very warm welcome,
Yeah,
first of
good
all, to
evening
the
to
panel.
everyone. Yeah,
Good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, my question to you would be, what according to you are the most important advantages of regular PTMs? And with increasing engagement, helicopter parenting has become more prevalent nowadays. So how do schools and teachers deal with that?
Okay. So the first part of the question, how beneficial is the PTMs? No, most often we conduct, and it's so important, and possibly, as you insisted on, it is a highlighted date in the calendar. Of course, the first aspect would be it is more like a collaborative community which we establish between the parents and the school, between the teacher and the parent community. And as Bhattacharyya sir said, like we work on the individual, the child, which is placed on the center stage. Okay, so when from the teacher's perspective and from the parents, we have a common goal, like bringing up the kids and educate them and bring them to whatever goals and ambitions they are, and explore the maximum potential which they could establish in the school environment. So we do often invite parents, and probably 4 times a year that could be advised. Probably one aspect is, which I could say, parents do have suggestions. Basically, if we consider certain ways by which we include, to consider and improvise, the school grows. Number one aspect, okay, because they play as a stakeholder, they've got every other right and a responsibility to interfere in school, aspects, because they, of course, are the part of the entire society. So that's one. And this feedback and suggestions, which we generally record it and keep it, because sometimes all documents, when it's beautifully recorded and it's not been highlighted at some point of time, goes waste. So we consider all the feedbacks and suggestions, which we could include, even if it could be very, very minor kinds of comments which they write, like sometimes they might feel the break time could be increased, the play time could be increased, because from the child's perspective, even as school, we do consider monitoring all that, but few other points which we highlight and improvise. So feedbacks and suggestions where, and also a lot of appreciations parents do bring in to appreciate teachers community, like my child likes an English teacher or a science teacher, math teacher. So from the third person angle, from the parent's perspective, what the child goes and communicates back about is experience in school. That matters a lot. That is the genuine feedback from the child's heart, the happiness which they share, and the next day they want to come to school. All that reflects through the parents to our end is a very happy note. So generally, we share that. Every school should do that in a review forum to teachers. Now, why this particular teacher is being a very favorite teacher among all? How is that a moral value for a specific teacher could be possible? And why can't that could be shared to the other teacher? So that's one. And sometimes this love of parents and the expertise of a teacher, they both sometimes overtake, or sometimes they are equally done, or as you said, of helicopter parenting, it is sometimes highlighted too. So where we wanted to balance, keep it at balance, we come to know only through interactions like that. Most probably, it's more a communication or a chat table, because whenever a PTM could be called, people think of like a ceremony. Okay, PTM is arranged, you come, attend, do something and get the feedback, go. That cannot be, because it's so much attached to the school, and it's a very important event. Because when we finish a PTM, the first point I ask every teacher is, what is the attendance of the parents attending the PTM? That's very important, because if it is 80% of parents who have come in, so that's a welcoming note. So we don't make it mandatory, but sometimes they do give some excuses, but silly excuses cannot be done on this forum. So PTM should be attended, and also sometimes there is a gap, a bridge gap between opportunities, which could be openly spoken about from the parent perspective or from the teacher side. Like I identified certain aspects or qualities or the EQ of your child. Is it right? We sometimes validate it, or we tend to acknowledge the same thing. Is that the same thing which I understood as a class teacher so long, as a subject teacher? I found your child to be so and so. So the parent feels, yeah, she is right. Or sometimes the parent would be too busy, as both are working and they don't find time to note so many details, but the teacher would highlight, no, your child has a good physique of sports, or good oratory skills, or these are the areas where you have to spend in time. So these suggestions, and also when we meet parents, we come to know about what style of parenting exactly the parent does, because sometimes they're too strict with the child and too lenient also sometimes, and there is no regular systematic procedures at home, or sometimes even the child is deprived of certain time. From recent Children's Day, we happen to ask children, like, how many of you feel that your parent time is required more with you? So almost 40-50% of the kids raised their hands. So they deprive of the love, attention of that. So we could get to share those things in the PTM forum. And this about the PTM. Of course, for helicopter parenting, like how do we deal it with our schools? yeah, sometimes they are too much into aspects of noting down, like from kindergarten till whatever the higher grades are, like the teacher has not notified this particular aspects of diaper being wet, and why is the teacher is not noted? My child got little chills, and you did not initiate her to drink water. No, all these aspects, but basically every child has its own life skills. When we are born, like every other animals does it, like it has its own survival and basic skills, and of course we train them at home also and send, like that's when they join school and they become little independent, and of course we do monitor them. But too much of probing into every other aspects becomes stressful for the child, and the independence of the child is lost. So we do acknowledge parents and call them and say, yes, of course it got missed out, and why don't you teach your child also to say that I need this. So instead of being pointing out on one side, can we do it on both the ends, so that the solution could be reached much quickly. And the other aspects, generally, we find such helicopter parenting style of people is, like, if any event is conducted or a competition is conducted, or if we have any CCA activities of things, something is forgotten by the child. From morning, right, the child would have entered into the school, and they would bring a small pouch with some material inside. That this is the particular thing my child missed out. So why don't you reach it to the class? So 24/7, they think about the child alone, and you won't believe, like, even a spoon is missed out or a fork is missed out, it comes in a package to school. We generally say, why can't your child manage, say, 5 minutes or 10 minutes to wait? And why he or she can negotiate to the friend. No, even snack is forgotten, it's fine. Today is forgotten. Do a strategy, talk to a friend and share, eat. That's when you get to know, social environment. How do we manage a situation which is, could not be supported by anybody else, where I have to deal it myself. So that situation is not created or not enabled by the parent at all. We do get irritated in the school environment when they do this, and still carrying lunch, hot lunch to the doorstep of the school, ensuring that my child should eat. But imagine all other schools and children do pack, even teachers do bring their food. Why can't children also? So these are, I feel like we could set boundaries, and certain aspects, and stick on to the boundaries with parents, to such helicoptering parents, and also be very firm, and sometimes we can be very direct also. No wrong in that. So sometimes being direct, but do it with little professionalism, and tactfully deal with the situation. So we can handle, I feel, such people. Yeah. Being so attended, instead of being that and depriving a lot of emotion and from the child, sometimes ignore them on certain aspects is better. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much,
Thank
ma'am. Thank you
you.
for those wonderful deliberations. I so love that Christmas tree in your background and
Oh,
in this
yeah.
context.
This
Wishing
December.
everyone.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
December.
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
December. I love this month of December. It's so colorful. And yeah, wishing you all a happy Christmas, those who have joined, to the entire world. It's a joyful month, I feel. Yeah.
Absolutely, ma'am.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It looks so nice in the background, and that context. Wishing everyone a very Merry Christmas in advance from the House of Notebook. Merry Christmas to you, ma'am. Merry Christmas to all of my panelists. And moving on to Chhaya Chaturvedi, ma'am, next. Ma'am, a very good evening and welcome to the panel. Ma'am, my question to you would be, what is the actual essence of a PTM, and how do you think PTMs can be taken to the best benefits of the students? Anything particular you do in your schools which we can take lessons from? Ma'am, you're not audible, ma'am. You have to unmute yourself.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening,
The
ma'am.
true essence of PTM is to foster communication and collaborative efforts for the holistic development of the children. And PTM, if we think of the past days when we were going to school, right? Not you, Gargi, but we were having only PTMs when the exams were there and only the result was produced. And we were only told that needs improvement. But nowadays, every month we are conducting PTMs. And PTMs, when we are telling about all the in and out of the child, his behavioral, what we have judged, the teacher, the whole month she judges his academics, his behavioral issues, his interaction, his everything. And that has been told to the parents. And parents also nowadays taking keen interest in the progress of the child, whether it's academics or whether it's other part. These PTMs are helpful in that part because we discuss with them and collaboratively we come together to the solution which will be beneficial for the children. And I agree with Bhattacharyya sir. There should be an honest discussion between the student, between the parent and the teacher. When a teacher informs, the parent should be a very good listener to understand, rather than what we have seen that parents do not listen to the teacher, whereas they foster their own things upon the teacher. And it's when we are PTMs are held, parents come. We belong to a school where we have heterogeneous group of parents. Some are very learned, some are very mediocre, some do not understand. They come from the like RT students and all we have, who are the parents are from the vegetable sellers and all. To understand the upbringing, to understand the family background, PTMs are very helpful because we understand, and accordingly teacher plans how to take action, how to work out with the child. Because the main aim of holding PTMs and all is the development of the child. So these PTMs, when the parents come, we understand them. Many parents are interested in the education, some do not understand. That teacher, these kind of meetings help the teacher to understand and to work out on the child accordingly. And in our school also, when we are having PTM, we give a suggestion box. What I have noticed is that sometimes parents want to convey certain suggestions, or sometimes it happens if they do not like the policy of the school. It happens. There are many 2,000 plus parents. All the things when we do are not like welcomed by the parents, and they cannot openly discuss with the teacher or me. So a suggestion box is kept where they put in the suggestion. And after every PTM, we read all those content, and all the things are, the criticism are also taken as a thing to improve, where we understand what parents are expecting from us and what they deserve from, they want from us, and what we need to provide them. So we also keep suggestion box where they put in the suggestion. And many other things where they, many things which they do not discuss with the teacher, they come across me and discuss with me. So I think when we are having PTMs, the true essence will come when we are having a collaborative effort, and the main focus would be the holistic development of a child. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for those wonderful inputs from you. Thank you so much for coming. Next, moving on to Hemlata Suri, ma'am. Ma'am, a very, very good evening. Welcome to the panel. And my question, good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, my question to you would be, what according to you are the most important advantages of regular parent-teacher meetings, and how do we tackle helicopter parenting?
All right. So, good evening, namaskar, and Jai Hind, everyone. So, it's always my pleasure to be here back on Notebook platform, and I really feel good, and especially on this pertinent topic of PTM, which is very close to my heart, because that is the only time, as my co-panelists have mentioned, that because of paucity of time, parents are generally very busy. We don't get to see them, you know. So, and they are a very important part of this teaching learning process. As education is not only the responsibility of schools, it is also partly the, 50% it's the parenting. which matters from where, which house they come from, the kind of domestic environments they have, the background they come from. So when we talk of PTM is very integral part of our life, as a school life, as a teacher, as a parent, as a student. For all of us, it's very important. As we see that the moment they start going to school, at that time, you must have, you'll agree on this point that parents are very enthusiastic when the children are at the lower grade, especially pre-primary and the primary years. They are very much interested in their child's growth and their learning. And they also seem to be very reciprocative and most of the time available in and to learn about their child's growth story, and whatever is their behavior and what is bothering them, what is the good things my child is doing. So this is something I believe that PTMs are kind of revelations, and they reveal many facets of the child's social life in school, and also the cognitive development when we see. And sometimes parents are also very shocked, as Achin mentioned very categorically that his colleague was very anxious, because there was this PTM the very next day. And parents are, it shouldn't, give us anxiety. As a mental health expert, I would like to give this very important advice here, that these are very important interactions. They are very, very pertinent when you think of meeting the teacher. You have full time, and the teacher also reveals certain points. She also brings out certain things which we are not aware as a parent. Most of the time when they are forwarded to me as a counselor, as a special educator, they only have most of the time they only focus on the studies. They just put that report card in front of me. So that is not your child is not that piece of paper which we see. That child is not the marks, and the child is not those grades. We must differentiate the child's personality vis-a-vis this report card. So the PTMs are not just about the discussion of marks and the grades. The child has got the medals and the activity related prizes or winning streak. So it is about the personality the child is going to be. So it is very important when the teachers are sometimes revealing certain facts. Parents feel very disturbed, and they feel very shocked at times, that they say my child is always very quiet at home, he is not very interactive. They have this complaint, but the teachers, very surprisingly, it's a pleasant surprise. No, we see him, him or her chatting, talking, and giving very witty replies. They answer back. So parents get very I think sometimes they get very surprised. Sometimes they become very anxious because they feel their child is not having that very important connection which needs to be built up. So that is why it is very, very important that we must go and meet our teachers and all the subject teachers, not the class teacher per se. And I completely believe that PTMs are therapeutic, because if we have certain issues, the parents are mostly having all kinds of complaints about their children. And my first question goes to them: leave aside this. I understand this is your concern. You send your child to study in the school, but it has to be the holistic development. So let's talk about things you feel that your child is very good at it. Just tell me 5 things. You have given me 10, 15 complaints, all the negative aspect. Your child is not doing this, not doing that, so many things. They just come up with those lists after they have meeting with the teachers. So they hardly, it is very, very difficult. We tell them many things, just walking through the corridor, we can observe many things about children. So that is very important, that you as a parent might not be able to see the child in real social atmosphere. Because that is the social atmosphere the child is having. He is interacting with his peers, he is talking to various age group of people, because the landscape completely changes once the child is out of their house. So the behavior completely changes. The personality aspects, the facets, the life skills, everything is learned through these interfaces of learning, which the child, every person he meets, like the moment he starts, the child, he or she starts from home through the bus or the school bus he or she takes. So from there, those interactions start, So that's very important. There are teachers in the bus who can teach them manners, how to speak to your helpers, how to behave there. So that is what, sometimes these complaints also come to us. The child is not able to assert himself. So that leads to another very important aspect of life skills. Life skills are very important here, and they are learned. And sometimes, teachers point out that your child is maybe very aggressive at school sometimes, or maybe very meek. So as Padma ma'am rightly mentioned, that it can, completely give us insight into the parenting styles, So which is very, very important for us to work on the child and support the child at school, because sometimes we find it very, very difficult. No amount of efforts bring that child up and make them speak. We train them, we pick them, we also know that they have a lot of potential. Like one has to believe in that uniqueness of those children. Each child is unique, and each one of us is a unique person. So that is something which is very important here, that parents need to be told about these things, that we are, but then we get to know, but how much opportunities, space, and the rightful things are given, the place to make choices, how much child is responsible for themselves. So this leads to helicopter parenting, which is one of the very favorite topic, and this is one of the, I'm sorry, just a moment. So what happens is, whenever the child comes to school, and as ma'am said rightly, the school should make this into a rule that once the child forgets something, they need to just live without it. Once in a while it's okay, when it's very, very crucial, because we need to train children at home, at school. Because suppose there is exam tomorrow, and we are having maybe day after tomorrow, as a school, as a teacher, we need to announce about all these things in the class, that please bring your stationery, these little things, because the times have changed. The times post lockdown, I have seen post COVID, children are completely a different species and breed. If you see, their behaviors are completely different. Kind of live in oblivion. It is very difficult to get them to the real world. As Achin sir also mentioned, that because of extreme high screen time and impact of social media, these things are happening. I mean, it's not just their awareness about things. It's their mental abilities which are getting affected because of this. So helicopter parenting does make a difference here, because at times it is, in a way, it is good also, because they control their child. Since helicopter parents are control free, they are just, as the name mentions, helicopter, they hover on the child. They just want to monitor each and everything. Sometimes I feel they want to get under the skin of the child, get into the brain of the child, and do what the child is doing themselves. So it's that skin deep for them. But we must understand the psyche of such parents and deal with them in a very effective manner, because helicopter parents are generally the people who are very anxious individual themselves as an adult, because their experiences in life, their environment, their upbringing, their conditioning has been such that they are very anxious people. They are very protective, they're very scared, and sometimes I feel they tend to completely undermine the terms like failure. They don't believe in something which is not ideal. They believe in perfectionism. So that is something which is very important, because they feel these are negative things. Disappointments are completely negative emotions. Disappointment should not have place in life. The child should never fail. The child should always make it through. So those things actually make them very, very anxious. So that is something, and that is what their response is, that they respond by controlling the child, each and every moment of that child. So that is something very interesting. If you see such parents coming, and then we have to have certain degree of, because this actually leads to a lot of problem later in life in these children, because these children completely lack in social emotional learning. Their life skills go for a toss. They are not resilient. They cannot take their own decisions. Their self-esteem, their self-confidence, everything goes for a toss, if you see, as a person, because they are not given that space at home. Even a thing like small clip they have to buy, they would look for approval. They would ask their parents, because approval is something which makes them really, dependent. And parents love this, that you remain completely in my control. Which book, which reference book I have to read, that is also been decided by parents. So in turn, they become very anxious people. They lead a very stressful life. If I look, when I look at such parents, I always tell my teachers, kindly bring them to me, kindly refer my name to them. I really wish to, and 2-3 sessions, of when we talk to such parents, because we have to show them that you have to believe in your child's uniqueness. You have to believe in child's self confidence, because what you have gone through, not necessarily what your child will go through. So that is something very important when we talk to such parents and we deal with them. We tell them, give your child some space, because it's very difficult in the first meeting, and we have to hear them out. What are their issues? You make them talk, and you make them express their concerns, because they emanate from something, some previous past life experiences. They because we all are the result of what we go through. So that is something there, and we need to work on them. And then helicopter parents are they are always very sentimental. They sentimentalize their children. They think that their children are completely in a world which is very insecure, which is very dangerous. Those things. World is a safe space, unless you make your child believe that. So that is very important. You can't keep your children in bubble. I mean, I have seen in one of the very latest incident in my school, the child got hurt somewhere, and there was a little band-aid which was put by the school nurse. The staff nurse put that band-aid, and the parent, the next day, they sent a big note that why this was not there when I left my child at the gate. And this child is also trying to explain, this was my mistake. I happened to touch something. I got that cut. So these things happens. Children are born tough. We don't believe in that. Why do we make them so delicate in terms of everything? They have to be roughened and toughened at times. That conditioning has to be there. So parents need to be taught those things. Instead of talking to children once in a while, before PTMs, we must have such deliberations taking place. One resource person, or maybe the principal, the school counselor, or some experienced teacher can always share such little things, especially to the new parents at the pre-primary level and these primary level. So this is very, very important, that we must teach them to accept their child the way the child is. Accept that the child will make mistakes. Let them explore in a controlled environment, because we have to give them that control thing, because they suddenly can't change themselves. We have to tell them, you monitor your child, but give them that space. Let them experiment with things, but in monitored way. Let them have, let your child have help seeking behavior, because which is very important. But the child is permanently help seeking, then it's a problem. It has to be a balance, no? Problem solving then will not be there in a child. That's a very important life skill, because when we serve everything on platter, we spoon feed the child wouldn't know what are the problems, what are the things we face in life, what is the life actually in reality. So these parents are not real to their children. So that is something very important. And they grow up into an adult generally having anxiety issues, general anxiety disorders, and they have depressive tendencies, which can graduate into further serious mental disorder. It is not something which is thing of laugh. Helicopter parenting leads to lot many problems. These people have social anxiety. They develop fear of new places. They develop many things like even taking little stand for themselves. They cannot speak for themselves. So those things I feel need to be explained, because I have seen it. I mean, after, if you see in a class of 50, 20 to 30 parents we will find like that, because they are very busy, they are working. So what they want to do, to banish that guilt inside, they just want to do everything for the child. As ma'am said, that spoon comes, that fork comes, that is very correct. The school gate people get, sometimes overwhelmed. Ki, Arey, our canteen can provide that plastic spoon. What happens if the child is using that? The child would learn to take help. If I have forgotten my spoon, I can always go and take it from the school canteen, or I can ask one of my friends. So that problem solving completely goes for a toss in these children, and they lack in resilience, which is again very important life skill. Their time management, their other skills, their collaboration, their peer relationships, because parents always interfering. One should not take charge. One should help them, to come over to maintain those relationships, because especially in adolescent age, these children become misfit. Their friend circles, they are generally loners. At times they become lonely, because they don't have those trusting relationship. They have trust issues because they have to share and tell each and everything to their parents. So that becomes a big problem with their peers, to trust them. So these things are very skin deep, and helicopter parents need to be tackled by school in a certain manner without pinpointing. So in a group counseling session, in some kind of seminar, short online meetings with such parents, one can always look for solutions. So as Khalil Gibran has said very rightly, your children are not your children. They are sons and daughters of life. So longing for itself, they come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they do not belong to you. So that is something I always want to tell them. I keep sharing them on my status. I keep sending them these things to my teachers. All many of them are there. The children are very tough. They have to be not brought to the real world. That is something very important here. So that's it from me. So
thank you so much, ma'am, for those wonderful deliberations. Thank you so very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we have come to the close of this panel. Padma, Priya ma'am, Chhaya, Chaturvedi ma'am, and Hemlata, Suri ma'am, thank you, three of you, so very much for coming and gracing the platform. Calling back Achin for the vote of thanks, please.
I think really wonderful session. Padma, Priya ma'am, thank you so much. I think you made a very important point in terms of understanding the style of parenting, which is, of course, one of the key objectives of PTM. And then comes the next part, which naturally follows setting boundaries, which is also important, especially at times for helicopter parenting, parents, etc. So I think we couldn't agree more with you. It's wonderful input. Chhaya Chaturvedi ma'am, thank you for gracing the platform. And I think you made a very relevant point, very practical point, that to understand a child, it's also important to understand what support is available to him or her at home. And I think it's very practical, especially, and also it also helps teachers in terms of understanding that what kind of extra effort they need to take. What is the approach that they're going to take to ensure that the child indeed benefits? So we agree with you completely. That's very true. That when we try to help the child, it's really important that educators are completely aligned. They understand the challenges that the child is facing at home, and it really helps. Hemlata, Suri ma'am, thank you. Thank you for being with us. So it has always been great listening to you whenever you come to the platform. So I think very, very nice point you made. The fact that yes, a child's development indeed cannot be captured on a piece of paper. Report card is important, grades are important, but then I think a child's developmental journey is far beyond that. And that's where the importance of interaction, the importance of free exchange of thoughts, the importance of honest feedback, and parents listening to it with an open mind, that yes, these are indeed for the benefit of the child, which they need to act on. So I think overall great session, and I'm sure members of the audience also benefited from the key takeaways that our esteemed panelists shared with us today evening. I thank you all for being with us here today, and I look forward to your continued support in the sessions to come. Thank you, take care, and goodbye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.